But even as we meet here, President Obama and the Congress are moving forward with an economic stimulus package in the range of $825 billion, which is important for job creation and sustaining economic activity through this recession. I have submitted to the President a package of projects of the central government and the authorities that can total over $700 million, which can be shovel-ready and provide jobs across our territory. Some of the funding will be driven by specific formulas that ensure that we get our fair share. Others will be subject to a competitive process. In either case, the ultimate objective is that we put the money to work in our economy sooner rather than later, subject to a process that is open, fair, transparent, and accountable. Once we've had an opportunity to review the final federal legislation, I will call on this body to support additional local projects that will create jobs today and assure that we emerge from this recession stronger and with more competitive infrastructure for building our economic future. This capital investment will not come without a price for each of us. We all know the difficulties created by large public infrastructure projects. Traffic at Mandela Circle or at Red Hook or at the Christiansted Bypass or roundabout in Cruz Bay cause delays on the best of days and test our patience on the worst. These inconveniences, which disrupt our daily routines, which strain our planning and traffic management skills. We will continue to make every effort to mitigate the problems caused by these projects and those that we are planning and must undertake in the near future. I do not intend to review each and every aspect of government this evening. And even though many of the topics that will not be discussed here and continue to be of considerable importance, nor do I intend for this speech to simply be a year in review of the many steps forward that we have taken together or the missteps that we've experienced. Instead, I will focus on several areas that I believe are reflective of trends, of approaches, of broader policies, and broader achievements. A change in approach and leadership throughout our government has brought both new energy and commitment to the basic premise that we all work in and for one government. And that government works for one purpose: service to the people of the United States Virgin Islands. One government. This is the unifying standard of our work. From the day I was sworn in, I have suggested, no, I have demanded that we must change the way that we do business, that the old conflicts and petty infighting among departments and across agencies will be no more. And it is the dedication to this principle that has enabled us to make real strides forward. This dedication can be seen in the leadership of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority and in energy management and policy. Moving away from our reliance on oil and bringing down our energy costs requires us to diversify our energy sources to alternatives, to renewables, and possibly a regional cable interconnection, and to educate our community on ways to reduce demand through conservation and effective demand-side management. This path includes WAPA, the Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority, collaborating to enable the development of new generation facilities that will allow us to move ahead with the closure of the Anguilla landfill and comply with long-standing federal consent decrees. These new generation facilities will lock in substantial energy reduction costs and diversify WAPA's production in St. Thomas and St. Croix by 40% and 30% respectively. This will significantly reduce our reliance on imported fossil fuel by the year 2012 and be consistent with the Federal Energy Policy Act of 2005. Equally important, these new facilities are a product of a true public-private partnership and demonstrate the willingness of WAPA and to move beyond the old rules to achieve our collective energy goals. This path includes the implementation of rebate programs to provide immediate relief to those hardest hit and support for solar energy initiatives that will move us to the day when the territory will be powered by the sun. We are drafting new rules and regulations to support distributed power for wind and solar by allowing greater flexibility in net metering. The Senate has expressed concern, which I fully share, over the costs paid by our residents for electricity as a result of the sharp increase in the price of fuel oil. Fortunately, the price of oil has declined substantially in the past few months. I also recognize the savings that Jovensa has provided by supplying fuel oil at below market prices to WAPA. Nonetheless, I have reviewed the government's agreement with Jovensa with the goal of seeing how the cost of electricity in the islands can be lowered further. In this regard, I have undertaken a detailed analysis of the history, development, and application of the terms of the pricing provisions of the 1998 extension agreement with Jovensa. With this analysis in hand, I have met with Jovensa's leadership to begin to work towards the goal of achieving reductions in the cost of fuel that they supply to the authority. We've also begun to explore the potential use of alternative fuels. Jovensa's management recognizes the hardship to our residents caused by high oil prices, and I very much appreciate the sincere concern it has expressed in working with the territory to reduce energy costs. I am hopeful that we will succeed in this endeavor. As to gasoline prices, we will continue to be as aggressive as we have been to make sure that all motorists get the best possible price as quickly as possible. And I am proud of our continuing effort across government, where we have reduced our gasoline consumption by 15% over the prior year. Across government, the principle of one government has been embraced. The Virgin Islands Port Authority and the West Indian Company are working effectively together to adjust the needs of the Port of Charlotte Amalie and the needs of our cruise industry with a $9 million dredging project. This project will ultimately be funded by increased passenger traffic. But what really made it possible was the improved relations among the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, WICO, and the Port Authority, who all now recognize that we share a common economic future. And the Department of Agriculture has reached out to other government agencies as it has pursued its vision of developing our local agricultural industry. They have worked successfully with the Department of Justice and the Economic Development Authority to provide a $600,000 loan to the Farmers Cooperative to increase the production and distribution of farm products in our community. Agencies and departments that in the past worked at cross purposes are now aligned in a common purpose. And in this regard, I am pleased to report, as I promised last year, agents of the Narcotic Strike Force have been integrated into other departments and agencies of this government. I know well that there have been bumps in the road and that there is yet much to be done. Broad changes in policy and performance are not always immediately apparent. And as we address some of the challenges we face, what may appear to be one step back happens before we can take two steps forward. Sometimes what appears to be no movement is in fact the strengthening of the foundations necessary for progress. This is the case in the area of the Bureau of Corrections, where we've been forced to transfer 98 inmates from St. Croix to prisons in Virginia, when it became apparent that security and control were at risk at Golden Grove facility. I'm aware that these are tough prisons, and I regret the hardship that this places on the families that may find it difficult to visit their loved ones. But once I visited Golden Grove, I knew I could not leave things as they were.